Good evening. I'm going to call the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for the month of June 2025 to order. The board sitting here tonight is member Steve Lianis, temporarily Ms. Jamie Hodges, Fire Chief Brian Nardelli, James Sweeney, and myself, Kenneth Galligan. Our zoning enforcement officer this evening and building inspector, building commissioner, I should say, the clerk of the zoning board, Mr. James Plouffe, our recording secretary, Monique Fagazzo, and Lily Godiva. There's an awful echo on this in here somewhere.
Put that close to you.
Too far away? How's that, better? Can you hear that all right out there? Everything's good?
Good.
All right, first of all, I would ask anybody that has a cell phone, if you could either put it on silent, shut it off, so that it doesn't disturb the meeting. If you need to use your cell phone, I would appreciate it if you would take your conversation out in the hallway. For those that you may be sitting in the back of the room near the doorway, if it becomes noisy, if the door is open, I would just appreciate if somebody would just shut the door for us. I will tell you this meeting is being televised. It's being televised by Brockton Cable TV. It will be recorded tonight, and it will be shown numerous times over the next month. Prior to the start of the meeting tonight, there is an opportunity for any petitioner to withdraw. We have tonight two cases that will not be heard tonight. The first case is being withdrawn, and that is case number 2535, the petitioner Chantel Delmeda, 4 Sunset Avenue, Brockton, Mass. For a special permit seeking relief from sections 3-16 for a kennel license for a daycare and boarding of less than 10 dogs in an R1C zone located at 4 Sunset Avenue. If you're here for that case tonight, it has been withdrawn and it will not be heard. The second case that is being postponed is petition number 2538, the petition of Thelwell Group LLC, 31 Lowell Street, Brockton, Mass., for a variance seeking relief from section 27.9, table 1, to construct a two-family dwelling lacking frontage and area in an R2 and C2 zone located at 737 Warren Avenue. That case is being rescheduled for next month in July. So if you're here tonight for that case, it will not be heard. So is there anyone else in the audience tonight that wants to withdraw? Seeing none. The way the meeting will commence tonight is I will read the petition, I'll read the case. Whoever is here representing that case will come up to the podium, present the case to the board, and when you have finished your presentation, I will ask the board members if anybody has a question relative to the testimony that had been given. Once that has been completed, I will then open it up for public discussion. I will first of all ask if there is anyone here that wants to speak in favor of the petition. Following that, I'll ask if there is anyone that wants to speak in opposition. Following that, I will ask if there's any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue. And lastly, I'll ask if there is anyone that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given. Following that, I will close that portion of the hearing, and I will now I open it up for deliberation among the board members. So at that point, the public discussion has been completed. 5 board members will discuss the testimony that was given. We will discuss Chapter 27, the zoning ordinance. At some point, you will probably hear one of the members make a motion to grant. If that is seconded, I will ask the clerk to call the roll. After he calls the roll, I will announce the vote, and I will also announce whether or not the petition has been granted or denied. If a petition receives 5 affirmative votes, the petition will be granted. If it receives 4 votes in the affirmative, the petition will be granted. Anything less than 4, it will be denied. So a 3-2 vote is a denial vote. All right. Did I leave anything out? We good?
Good.
All set to go? All right, the first case tonight is case number 2533, the petition of Philip Nazarella, 1063 North Main Street, Brockton, Mass., for a variance, seeking relief from Section 2725 and Section 279, requesting permission to continue to use the addition as a separate residence in an R1C zone located at 226 Copeland Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, I am Attorney Philip Nazarella, representing the Dunbarrys, and with me this evening is Mr. John Dunbarry and his wife, Erica Dunbarry. Also, Scott Faria, showing the plan that we have this evening, outlining the property in question. The reason we are here this evening is to seek permission by way of a grant or re-grant or a clarification of a zoning determination that was given some time ago to allow a structure that was built legally to be used as a two-family or multifamily residence, property A and property B. And it's necessary for me to give some historical background to what had happened here, because the Dunbarrys were before this board about 23 years ago when they went for their initial variance. And the purpose was that back in 1999, Mrs. Dunbarry gave birth to twins. Actually, one child did not survive the birth. And the second child, John Thomas Dunbarry, was born with a severe amount of medical challenges. He was born with blindness and quadriplegic. And as he developed, he continued to gain or be confronted with many more medical issues, from his esophagus surgeries, cystic fibrosis, spinal fusions, and I don't want to go through all of them. But there were severe challenges. And the Dunbarrys realized that they could not handle all of the issues in front of them, and they would need, and as they were advised by their doctor, not that they had to be, they needed professional medical assistance to raise this child. They also realized that as this child was growing older, so were they, and their challenges as two working families were doubled due to the necessity of taking care of a child and maintaining a source of income. So they needed assistance by a professional. In fact, when young John was in school at 4, 5, 6 years of age, the Brockton Public Schools said he needs to be assisted with a professional assistance, not a friend of the family, but either a nurse, nursing student. So in seeking that type of assistance, they needed someone that would be a live-in, and they didn't want to confine anyone to within their own premises, because they found that a lot of the professional assistants didn't want to live within the family structure. So they came before this board in 2002. They explained the situation, and the board graciously granted them the right to renovate the property to adjust and to be able to handle the needs that were in front of them. They came and they discussed this with me, and they said, look, we have what is basically a two-family, because for 20-some-odd years we had professional assistants living in the house, nurses or nursing students, and they now do not have that need. Unfortunately and sadly, a year ago, young John succumbed to that mounting medical debacle and passed away. So now they have what is a two-family home without the need for all of that. They are blessed with two daughters who are away at college, but at some point will be returning. What they are seeking is for this board to allow them after they've made major investment in building this structure and thought they would have it for a long time, had the use for a long time for their own family, they no longer have that particular need, but there was a financial investment which now has become a financial hardship, and they would like the board to recognize that and allow them to use this property as a two-family. There are some that said to them, well, you know, you're set back so far, who would know what you're doing or not doing? They felt they wanted to be, not to be surreptitious or anything other than upfront with the board, in that the board was, again, gracious enough in 2002 to give them the relief they were looking for. At the time they did build the two-family, it was in compliance. The city inspectors had checked it, reviewed it, and signed off on everything that had to be signed off on. So what we are asking is that that board look at the totality of these circumstances and give them the relief they are seeking. Now, the rationale, too, is, you know, we all know there's the legislative black letter law, there is the common law that has arisen from looking at court cases, and there's that other narrow area called equity, which is if the law doesn't specifically speak to something, what is basically the right thing to do that gives someone's relief? And you'll hear lawyers and judges talk about, we do this in the interest of justice. Well, I respectfully submit to the board, granting them this relief to continue using what they already have and have invested in would be in the interest of justice, and I would ask that you favorably look upon this and give them the relief they're asking for, which is a variance to use this as a multifamily in this area. There is sufficient parking. There are two driveways, actually, to the left and to the right of the house, which accommodates each particular unit. Each driveway can handle at least 5 cars. I did a walk through the whole area. The rear of the yard extends as far back almost the length of a football field. So there is plenty of area there. When you look at that front of the house from the street, you can't tell if it's a single family or a two-family. And again, there's sufficient parking, there's sufficient space. The design of the house, and we had a professional architect go through it, has 2 means of access and egress for each particular structure. So again, we ask, in the interest of justice, the board look upon this favorably and grant the relief we are seeking.
Could you just summarize the hardship? I know you went through a lot, but let's just put it in a few words what the hardship is.
You know, I always use a few words, Mr. Chairman, and I'll do that again tonight. The hardship is basically that it's a financial hardship because they were allowed and granted by the board, and I believe you were one of the only members of the board at that time. You were there. They've invested such a financial hardship that in having built this, and it now exists, to do the reverse and find that they cannot use it or someday in the future seek to rent it, they're going to sustain a greater financial hardship by having a structure that they can't use and they already expended money on. And again, in addition to that, Mr. Chairman, that was the purpose I brought up and brought to the board, that scenario of what equity is in the interest of justice. Maybe the black letter law doesn't foresee this type of situation. If you want to talk about uniqueness, this is unique. I believe justice would compel, by way of equity, that we are granting them this relief because it's the right thing to do. But in addition to that, there is a severe financial hardship that they had incurred, but they had to incur, and now they will continue to incur unless they can use it in the way that I seek relief for.
There was a question, I think, about a finding or a variance. I think the variance is the way we should be handling this.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Attorney Nazarella,
Yes.
First and foremost, obviously, our condolences from the board to you and your family, Dunbarrys. I just, real quick, so this is being taxed currently as a two-family through the assessor's office?
I don't think so.
It's not, okay. I was just curious, well, you speak of financial hardships, that's why I was curious on that end, if that's why the financial hardship obviously continues. And you were saying, obviously, they have 2 daughters at home that are off at college. They probably would be able to take up this space potentially when they return.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the addition, does that have a full kitchen and
Yes.
full bathroom?
Yes.
Attorney
At
Nazar.
the time, they could not get anybody to come in and live there unless they had that type of setup. Yes.
Egresses on the, I pulled down your driveway last month, and I couldn't see, but what I can see on the plan, but those are free and clear to get out in an emergency?
Yes, yes.
If I may, Mr. Sweeney, there's, for the front unit, there's the front door, and then there's a common hallway in the side door coming out towards the driveway. Then the second, the rear unit, has an entrance over near that driveway, and then a back entrance. So both of the units have two entrances and egress.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
How many cars can you park directly off of Copeland Street? I can't see it from here, so you're going to have to tell me.
Nope, that's fine. We have two right here, Mr. Chairman, and the existing driveway to the left of the house, 3 in the back, 1 on the turnaround, and 1 in the garage. So a total of 7. I mean, realistically, you could put 15 in the driveway, but to not show double stacked cars and like that, we just have the 7 spaces.
So any vehicles that pull into the driveway on the south side would have access to get in and out unimpeded?
Correct. Nobody, we're not showing anybody parking in the driveway itself.
Yeah, that was not on the plan, that's why I asked. Can you describe what the existing house looks like for rooms? Like, how many bedrooms in the original house?
I believe I submitted the architectural plans.
You could, yep. Looks like 2 bedrooms?
In one floor, I just had the plans in front of me.
With 3 bedrooms in the new one?
Correct,
Okay, so we got a total of 5 bedrooms on the site.
correct.
All right, I think we've addressed that between my comments, you've reaffirmed that. So you're asking for permission to allow a 2-family house in a single-family residential area?
That is correct.
That's what we're down to,
Yes, sir.
all right? Board members, any further questions? Everybody's good? Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public portion of the hearing. I will now open it up for discussion among the board members. Board members.
I think it's in the neighborhood of similar homes, and as it relates to 27-25, to similar use. So I don't think it's a stretch.
Yeah, and it's already set up as a 2-family, so I don't see an issue with it.
I think,
Memory, sir. Go ahead.
no, go. I mean, it's been like that for 23 years. Has not derogated from the neighborhood whatsoever. This family obviously had a very difficult situation that they were dealing with at the time, and I think sometimes just doing what's right, as Attorney Nazarella stated, in regards to humanity, is more important than anything else. So that's all I have.
I think if my memory serves me right, when we granted that about 23 years ago, it was for family use because of the situation as you described. So now he's before us with a different use, which is going to allow them to use this as a 2-family, and that's the whole purpose of why this is being changed to a variance.
Motion to grant.
Second.
All right, a motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Delanus,
Yes.
Chief Nadelli,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board.
Good luck.
That's good. All right, the next petition is 2534, the petition of Felicia Texera, 361 Newbury Street, Boston, Mass. For a variance seeking relief from Article 3, Section 27-9 to propose a conversion from a single-family to a two-family dwelling in an R3 zone located at 34 Parker Street.
Good evening, Chairman. My name is Felicia Texera. I'm a licensed general contractor.
Just speak right up to the microphone. You can bring
Sure.
it closer if you'd like.
Sure.
There you go.
Good evening, Chairman. How you guys doing?
Much
My
better.
name is Felicia Texera. I'm a licensed general contractor. I'm here with the owner of 34 Parker Street, Philip Flante. We are here looking for a zoning relief for a conversion of a one-family to a two-family at 34 Parker Street. We have an existing blueprint. We're not looking to expand the blueprint. We are just looking to do interior remodeling and do the conversion from a one-family to a two-family.
Okay, whenever you're ready. Go right ahead.
Okay, so our hardship is just, the issue that we're having with the building department is our lot size. We are currently 8,332 square feet. The requirement for a two-family is 12,500 square feet for the two-family. We do meet all the other requirements for the two-family. The only issue, the only hardship that we're having is the lot size. So we are asking for a relief so we can go ahead and convert this one-family to a two-family.
All right, I'm going to interrupt you for one moment.
Sure.
Just for clarification, I think there's been a misunderstanding here on lot size that's required for that location.
Correct.
So I'm going to ask the building inspector to explain to you and to the board that in this case where we have a location
And then our,
that's in an R3 zone, in order to create a two-family in an R3, what the lot size is required. So, building inspector?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In an R3 zone, a single family would be required to have 7,500 square feet. In a R3 zone, a two-family would require to have 10,000 square feet,
okay,
not 12,500.
okay,
So you would require to have two times 5,000. If you wanted to have an additional third floor, that's an additional 2,000 square feet per unit after that. So a two-family requires 10,000.
okay, okay. Just thank you for the clarification. When I did apply for the permit, they did tell me it was 12,500, just to clarify that.
Okay, I noticed on your paper that you sent in, you quoted that, so that's why I want to make the
Thank you, I
correction
appreciate
tonight.
it. Thank
So you're telling us you have 8,332
Correct.
when you need 10,000.
Correct.
So you're asking for relief from that lot
Correct.
size.
Correct.
Okay. You can continue. You got more to tell us on this?
I do not.
You do?
I do not. If you have any questions, I can answer your questions, but I,
Well, obviously, you're asking for a variance, and a variance is going to require you to demonstrate a hardship, usually with soil, topography, unique size of the lot, shape, whatever. So is there something that's unique about this piece of property that's different than others?
so this property, there's already an existing shell there. It's a one-family, but we do have an existing shell that is just not in use at the moment. It was, I believe, prior, it was a barn, so it's not in use at all. It's just empty space. We do meet all the other requirements for a two-family, so we're just looking to use that space, convert it into usable space.
Okay, and once again, just for clarification with the building inspector, where this separate building is part of the main building, it's considered all one building, right?
That's correct. If it's connected together, it is one building.
So it doesn't matter whether it's next to the building or on the second floor, it's still the same?
That's correct.
Okay.
If I understand correctly, nothing about the actual, how the building looks right now will change except for the interior, making it two-family.
And then if allowed, a deck in the back, please.
A deck in the back, yes.
Yes.
Is there any consideration as to the parking situation?
So we do meet the requirements for parking. We do have parking right on the side of, well, it would be in front of the structure.
Understood, but I'm just asking, would there be any consideration of doing something with that driveway to make it easier? Front to back is very difficult because someone's always having to move cars. Parker can be busy at times. I don't know, and it's not something I can require, but sometimes that type of moving the driveway over a little bit and making maybe some slanted parking spots, not that that would really maybe fix the whole problem, but that front to back could become difficult. Is there any, do you plan on having any assignment of what those parking spots go to? Which, like one side or the other, or anything like that?
We can definitely expand the parking spot, expand the width, so that way there's more parkings. And if sideway works, definitely we can consider that and make it happen.
So are you suggesting parallel parking against the house and angle parking
Yes,
where the grass is?
because they have enough room on that side. I think one of the stipulation, and we can talk about this in discussion, would obviously to put some sort of brush and greenery along that left side lot, only because now you're pulling the cars potentially right up to that lot line on that side. Just a thought. I don't, it's still a reach here, but I'm just trying to.
That's fine. Yes.
I had the same concern when I was looking at this, that if you come out of either one of those houses and walk down the driveway, those cars are going to be pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
In other words, there's no walk shown from the back of the house to the street. So if the parking was, as was suggested, it would certainly be easier to walk on that driveway to get access to that house.
Right, okay, yes, we will do so.
Can you tell us how many bedrooms there are in the current house?
The, your bedrooms?
Yeah.
Bedrooms in your house, the one family.
One family,
Yeah.
two bedrooms.
Yeah.
The first are two bedrooms.
Two bedrooms?
Yeah. It's two bedrooms.
Two,
This one is doing three bedrooms.
okay. So there's two bedrooms in the current existing one family?
Two?
Two? Three? Sorry, Your Honor. Three bedrooms.
That style house years ago used to be two, so now you're saying there's three.
The first apartment, he has a two bathroom.
Two bedroom?
Yeah, the second one you can do it now, the three.
Okay, sorry, it's two bedrooms.
Okay, so the new building would have three bedrooms, correct?
Yes,
So on the whole site, we're talking 5 bedrooms.
yes.
It's an existing building that's there. Obviously, you're aware that There's a lot of building codes that you would have to adhere to make this conversion,
Yes.
okay? And you need 10, and you got 8332, okay? Board members, any other questions? Everybody's good? We'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That completes the public discussion. I will now close that portion of the hearing and open it up for deliberation among the board members.
Chief, you touched on, what I was going to ask, and I think it's important probably, I'll let you say best, but if that was on fire, a wider driveway to get crews back there.
Yes.
Is probably what you were alluding to?
Yeah, sure. And I think, too, even for the convenience of everyday life, if you have, and we talk about this a lot in these meetings, someone in the front house is parked behind someone in the back house, and the back house person has to get up at 5 in the morning to go to work. How do we end up in a situation where now we're inconveniencing either tenant? That's my bigger concerns with that. Obviously, the fire service is going to make it work in a house like this and things of that nature. I think that the convenience of parking and things of that nature are the only things that kind of key me into that. You know what I mean? Okay. I just, amongst us, I understand the idea of what she speaks of in the hardship in regards to it's two buildings on the same lot, this, that, the other thing, but it still doesn't prove a true hardship to me. That's what I'm kind of wrestling with more than the parking, especially if they speak of that they would not have a problem with those parking stipulations.
It looks like parking is tight on that side of the street. I think widen it. I'd be satisfied if it was a bit wider. You could get another car in there. I don't know what everyone else is thinking.
To add another car?
Yeah, it looks like you could widen it from the street on the left.
I think the one thing you got to consider here is the green space.
True.
We don't want a situation where the whole yard is blacktopped.
All blacktop, yeah.
I guess you could consider, too, the use of that barn as it exists right now. I call it a barn. It is, maybe that's not the right word, but that structure. If they were going to build that, it may be a difference than what's existing there today. It is an allowed use to have a two-family in that neighborhood. The problem is the lot big enough to support the two families? And that's why they're here tonight.
What's your feelings amongst the board on the hardship? Anyone?
I guess I'm a little unclear as to what the hardship is.
Yeah, me too.
Well, of course, something to consider is the use of that building right now. It's attached to the house, it's part of the house. The area is populated with both single and multiple family dwellings. It's an R3 district. I think the biggest problem we got to consider here is there enough room on that lot to allow a two-family. Two-family is allowed, is just do we think there's enough room to allow it to happen?
Now, the two properties on either side, the lots are about the same size. And I think the one on the right there is a three-family, and the other one is a two-family too, so the lots are pretty much identical.
I don't think it will derogate from the neighborhood and the existing homes on the street. I don't think that's the question here. We get bound in the hardship component a lot, and I think about that a lot of times, especially when they're making their case. I just want to make sure we're doing the same along the route. I understand your point with the hardship. I think this is much more palatable, obviously, if we're able to widen the driveway but not make it an asphalt front yard, but obviously require shrubbery, arborvitaes, whatever you want to use, on that left-hand lot line to make sure we're not creating a problem with the neighbor next door with cars facing into that existing property over there. So there'd need to be some significant shrubbery that would block that parking. I don't know what everyone else's thoughts are on that.
I like that idea, and I would be satisfied with that as it relates to 27-9. And I think the neighborhood, you know, it's of like use, so.
You don't have a bunch of Campanelli-style homes in that neighborhood, is
Right.
what your point is.
Right.
I understand.
So you're considering a stipulation of arborvitae-type full greenery, shrubbery, trees on the south property line extending from the sidewalk back to the location of the current outbuilding?
The current outbuilding, which would be the barn, that, you know, now you're looking at, you know, if we put angled park, if we stipulate they put angled parking there, now they pull into that angled parking at 10 o'clock at night and it's dark out, you're not shining your lights into the other property either. You're protecting not only from the blacktop that is the whole side of that front yard, but you're also protecting that the other homeowner from potentially, you know, headlight issues and things like that going over that way. Just my thoughts.
The parking is very difficult in that area, and if they were not showing the parking that they're showing, I think it would be very difficult to consider this, but they are showing off-street parking.
And they have the ability to change that, and they've agreed to do it under our stipulations, it sounds like, to make it so you're not creating a problem with the other cars that are parked in the driveway as well. I'll make a motion to grant with the stipulation that they will, on the outer perimeter of that parking, they'll make that a larger parking area. They will angle that parking so that they can back out, and it will give really a breadth of both sides of that parking, but also that they will create vegetation along that lot line with bushes that will grow up to the area of where that outbuilding begins along that lot line. So you're going to have greenery, but you're also going to hopefully have good parking at the same time that's not going to upset the neighborhood and it's not going to upset the different people in that house.
That's a motion, Chief. I'll second.
Okay, a motion has been made with those stipulations. The parking, the amended driveway parking, arborvitae's on the south line. Was that it?
That's all I have.
Setbacks, they seem to be good on everything else. All right. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Delanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Hodges.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted with the stipulations. You understand the stipulations?
Yes. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right, the next petition, 2535 Sunset Avenue, has been withdrawn. The next petition, 2536, the petition of Fenton Bradley, D21 Architects LLC, 120 North Main Street, Suite 305, Attleboro, Mass., for a variance seeking relief from Section 27-9 to convert the commercial property into a two-family in an R3 zone located at 38 Park Street. Before you commence, this is an R3 zone. Building inspector, we need a minimum of 10,000 square feet, correct?
For a two-family, 10,000 square feet is correct.
Got it, thank you. Please identify yourself.
Good evening, Fenton Bradley, D21 Architects, Attleboro, Mass.
And I'm Charles Vaughn Jr., the owner of 38 Park Street.
Very good. Just bring that microphone close. You're so tall, your voice isn't carrying, and you can pick it up if you want to.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good evening. Ready to go. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Here seeking variance relief 27-9 for deficient lot size. Property 38 Park Street is currently a commercial property that we're being converted into a two-family. Deficient lot size, as noted, 5,000 required per unit. We have 7,800 square feet. Just to note, the property was built in 1920. Again, just a commercial property, clear open spaces. It's made up of warehouse space, support areas, and just commercial storage space. We're seeking relief on the hardship, just noting that the existing site conditions, just to know, this is part of a building permit that was already submitted, and we did not look at the building footprint at all. It was kind of a modest renovation, and we just basically dormer in the attics, but keeping the existing footprint. Just knowing that this is an adaptive reuse of a property. Again, just changing the property to more conform with the adjacent properties in the residential area. Just noting that, again, there's no expansion of the building footprint, and there's basically no opportunities to purchase any adjacent lots. And just to note that the owner does own the property to the left-hand side of 38 Park Street, also owner of 42. So even if he took some of his property, we still wouldn't be able to make it 10,000.
Could you just repeat that again? I didn't quite catch it.
Excuse me, I said the owner, Mr. Charles Vaughn Jr., is also the owner of the property to the left, 42 Park Street. So just noting that even if he combined his properties, he still wouldn't be able to meet the zoning. But just noting that he is the adjacent owner.
What number Park Street he owns?
40-42 Park Street.
So as I stand on Park Street looking at this building, do you own the house to the left of it?
To the right.
To the right? Isn't that the big block on the corner?
The big what?
There's one house between this building and the block on the corner?
No, it's right next door.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
That's the one you own, correct?
Yeah.
The one and that's right behind the big one on the corner.
Yes. Yeah.
So you don't own the corner house?
No.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's a massive. No.
That's a big building.
Yeah, he doesn't own that one. So just again noting on the hardship, and just again, we understand, we believe that we're seeking favorable relief just because we understand that this is no substantial detriment to the neighborhood. We believe the alternatives to a residential property just going to make it a more safer place and more conform to the use. Right now, the property has 6-foot fences with barbed wire, used for a lot of storage. So again, we're just going to make it a more safer life, and just again, in support of it, just for public benefit.
Is this building right now vacant?
Yes.
It was used for storage. Is it still used for storage?
No, since I've purchased it, we've gone in and just cleared and cleaned the building.
I'm
You
sure.
realize this is an old schoolhouse?
Yes, oh yeah.
Yes.
All the chalkboards were in there. This is my friend and architect, and we've been discussing how to probably incorporate some of that in the new build. We thought it would just, be an awesome addition to keeping the, just the authenticity of the fact that it was a school at one point, and I'm not sure if it was among the first, but among the first. So I just, and plus it was owned by a very good friend of mine who passed away from cancer for many years, and I just got to witness his work and the people he worked with from MIT. And so there were, during the makeup of the plans, Fenton and I discussed a lot of how to keep some of the you know, the old with the new. I'm very active when it comes to my street. I've fought diligently for years and turned my street into residential parking only. I've owned my house for 25 years, and me with a couple of other neighbors on the street, we actually keep the entire street clean, whether we have help or not. And so for many, many years, I've watched my friend use that house for his sole purposes. It didn't really add anything to the neighborhood. It's not a pretty view at all. But what I have in mind to do, it's going to definitely improve the neighborhood along with everything else that I fought so hard to do to improve that neighborhood, and changing it from commercial to residential use, and making it where it fits what's already currently going on the street. It just will add opposed to what it's doing now, you know. I mean, I have my work cut out for me. Just to clean it out was, I think I need a rest. Yeah, but I have, like, it's been something I've been looking at for quite a long time, long before I was even capable of buying it. It was just, like I said, it belonged to a friend of mine by the name of Robert Goka, who I love dearly, and we argued often because I used to always tell him, Rob, it doesn't go with what's going on in the neighborhood. And he was a scientist, so he didn't see what I saw. But that is the plan for the building.
So there were many schools in the city like that. It's very similar to the Little Red Schoolhouse up at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
And for the edification of the board, I did not go to that school at the Park Street.
You said it, not us.
I knew you were going to bring it up.
Are we done with, you guys, you're done with this statement? As the fire chief, when I was still riding the trucks, we made many trips to that building.
Really?
Could you just explain the hardship for us? You're asking for a variance, correct?
Yes.
Yep, a variance, I'm sorry. What do you state your hardship to be?
Just a financial hardship to develop it as a commercial property in the area. The owner's use for it doesn't have use for it as a commercial property, so really just to develop it. And the amount of money, and the property is really set up for a two-family. And we went modest, could have tried three-family, but we really tried two. It's set up with kind of two means of egress in the front that we're going to use for left and right entry. Yeah. So it kind of just lends itself, but really just a financial hardship of keeping it residential.
Is there anything about the lot or the soil that is an issue?
No, there's no pool, no puddling. Not in the floodplain or anything like that.
Mr. Goka, many, many years ago, and I believe that was because he kept heavy equipment on the land, he came in and he put probably about 4 feet of the gravel rock. That's what he put around the perimeter. It's just, and I believe that was to hold heavy equipment, which isn't something I would need. I want to beautify it. I want grass, some cement, but that's what's there now. You put gravel.
And if I understand correctly, you're the occupier of number 42. You live there?
Yes,
So this is your neighborhood, like you said?
yes, been here
Okay.
25 years.
So you have a vested interest in
A lot.
what this
yeah.
property
Oh, my God, yes.
is going to be long-term?
Oh, yeah,
Understood. All right, thank you, appreciate that.
yeah, thank you.
I'm looking at what other use this building could be used for. I mean, he has a financial interest in the building, and I don't see any other use, certainly not commercial use for this building, so.
And I know we can talk about this during discussion. That building has been a tough, I mean, you love Mr. Gorka, but that's been that's been a difficult building. You've seen us there a lot. And if that can be cleaned up
Yes.
to a nice house from what you're showing here, that'd be a nice possession for the whole neighborhood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
The footprint of this building will remain the same?
Yes.
Yeah.
No alteration.
There are several other things that we need to consider on this he's asking for relief from lot size to allow it to be used for two-family. That's a dimensional variance. The other thing that we've got to consider, and he has not brought it up, but he's going to have to, is it looks as though on the back of this building, you're going to put a new exterior stairway on the back of the building?
Yes.
Yeah, for
that's what we have
egress.
in the proposed.
It's not there now.
No, that's a new.
All right, that requires, under our ordinance, it requires a special permit to allow that stairway to be placed there. Can you explain to the board what that stairway is going to look like?
Okay, we envision a wooden deck coming off on the second floor off of the kitchen, but just kind of a wooden deck, two-level deck. From the first floor, come out to like a common porch and just a kind of stair coming down to the landing. So really just a modest deck that we're using as a means of egress. We originally did have a second stair kind of on the interior of the house, but just really the small footprint in the house, it just took away from, so we did place it on the exterior. But we did have earlier versions where that stair was kind of in the interior, kind of in the back left-hand corner of the plan. But please advise our next steps.
We don't have any rendering that I can see of what that stair would look like, so I would just caution the board that if we approve the stairway, it's going to have to be
One of the
with the
plans
building
does,
inspector.
Mr. Chairman, one of the plans does have it.
You found one?
What it doesn't show, though, is and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Commissioner, but it will have to be covered, correct?
Okay.
Is that correct?
Technically, it needs to be clear of snow and ice. And that goes by, there's many meanings of that. So if there's somebody that is there for every snowstorm to clear off the snow and ice, then you can have someone there all the time. Otherwise, covering it up would keep it clear from snow and ice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good,
Would there be an issue with putting a cover over it in case you're working, sir, or something like that? You can't get to cleaning the snow and stuff like that? Would that be a concern?
Cover, I'm not even exactly.
Meaning like a
just
roof?
like a roof.
Oh, yeah, we was thinking about.
Yeah, just a roof on
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
We didn't show, but just a flat.
I think sometimes that just works for the overall, only because you live right next door. It's going to be your property to clean, but, you know, you're working, whatever the case may be, you're not home, a snowstorm hits, and
Yeah, that's a good.
If you look at Plan A30, I think it shows some kind of a roof over that foot.
I see the roof over just the top, but not the whole set of stairs. I don't have my thing on, sorry. I see what you're saying. That's the front, though, right? That's the back. There's a roof off it, yeah, okay. I'm satisfied with that.
Okay, so we will have to consider a special permit for the exterior stairway when we make our vote, all right? The other thing that has to be considered here is the size of the parking stalls. Our ordinance requires 180 square feet. You're showing 9 by 18. So I guess we should discuss that, whether we want to allow him to have 4 parking spaces that are 9 by 18, or push the NG line to the right to accommodate 9 by 20. You see where I'm talking?
Yeah. Pushing it,
I don't see why he can't add another 2 feet to that and make them standard.
which way are you saying add? Add towards the building.
No, towards the west. See the line for the
Oh,
driveway?
I see what you're saying.
You would have to push the driveway over 2 feet
Yep,
to add 2 feet to the parking stall.
yep. I don't think that would be an issue.
Can you address that? Why did you pick that size parking stall for any particular reason?
No, just basically standard, but just kind of standard.
It is if you got a little car. If you come there with a pickup truck, you won't even get in the driveway. So
Which I have.
Understood.
I think you would be wise to ask for relief, not to ask for relief on this, but to go with the actual 180 square foot
Yes, we will.
parking spot.
We will,
You're good on that?
yes.
All right, the last thing is the rear yard setback. Your plans show 18 feet 7 inches. What do we need back there, 20 feet? Got it off the top of your head?
Yes, Mr. Chair, 20 feet, but if it's a required egress, it can extend into the setback by, I believe, 2.5 feet.
Okay, so I'm measuring this from the porch, and you're saying the porch can sit into the setback?
The required stairs can, but the porch itself would need the variance.
All right, so the building itself is well within the setback then?
Yes.
Appears that way.
Okay, so tonight, then, we are acting on a dimensional relief for the size of the lot and a special permit for the exterior stairs. The parking stalls, there is an understanding that those will be 180 square feet. So you're good on that, and the rear yard setback we're good on. Any other questions from board members? We're good? Close that portion of the hearing. I'll open it up now for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberation among the board members. Board members.
I think it actually will add to the neighborhood. That building has been an eyesore and a nightmare for many years for the fire service. I think what this gentleman looks to do is to not only create good housing in the downtown area close to the train, but he's also looking to beautify his own neighborhood that he lives in, and that's not what we always see when we do these types of variances. They're trying to, which everybody is, they own a property, they want to make money off of it. This gentleman is trying to also beautify his neighborhood at the same time. I think with those stipulations, I think this is a very good project for that area, for that street, especially with the neighbors and their concerns and trying to beautify their neighborhood. I think it does wonders for the street, quite honestly.
I would echo that too, Chief, and I would just say that keeping the school heritage however you can saves a little bit of history, so.
That, and also, I don't see a commercial use for this building anyway, so.
Unless you knock it down.
Which I don't want to do.
Well, he has the ability to put 3 families in there, and he's asking for 2, and I
Yeah,
think
I
2.
don't want to put, no, I'm
done.
sorry.
We're done. It's just us talking. Up
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have to do this before. I'm sorry.
there. I think he has done the right thing to limit the occupancy to 2 in that building. And personally, I can't see any other use of that building other than what he's proposing to do or tear it down. And if you tear it down, now you're going to put up another residential building. So,
A motion to grant.
Second.
all right, the motion has been made and seconded.
With the stipulations.
Three votes, 1 for each variance, and then 1 for special permit.
You want to make it difficult?
Yeah.
All right. The building inspector says we need to take multiple votes. So the first vote will be on giving a variance for relief of the size of the lot. Needs 10,000, he's got 8,500 somewhere around there, so will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Hodges.
Yes.
Chair Callaghan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
All right, the next vote will be to grant a special permit for the rear stairway.
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Hodges.
Yes.
Chair Callaghan.
Yes.
That's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
What was the other vote for?
Nope, the other one was going to be the parking, but it doesn't need to be.
All right, I guess we probably, to clean that up, would be
Can that be,
to amend the parking to 180 square feet minimum.
and take a vote on that as well, not under the stipulations?
That's one of the stipulations.
So do we have to take a vote on it?
Well,
I don't care either way, I'm just,
if we do, it'll make it cleaner,
perfect.
but he wanted 168, he's agreed to 180, so let's just hold him to the 180.
Got it? I'm
So
good.
the stipulation is the 4 parking spaces will be a minimum of 180 square feet. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Delanus?
Yes.
Chief Nadelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
That's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, Mr. Chair.
All right, the result of all the votes. The variance is granted on the lot with a 5-0 vote. The special permit is granted for the rear stairway with a 5-0 vote in the affirmative, and a special permit to make mandatory the parking of 180 square feet as shown on the plan, and that is also a 5-0 vote. So all of them have been granted. Good luck.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges.
Call to the board.
All right, for the remainder of the hearings tonight, our regular board member, Monique Greenberry, is with us tonight. Welcome. All right, the next case is 2537, the petition of Annette Epps, 68 12th Avenue, Brockton, Mass., for a variance seeking relief from Section 27-9 to build an addition of a sunroom in an R1C zone located at 68 12th Avenue. Good evening.
Good evening.
Please identify yourself.
Annette Epps.
Mrs. Epps is the homeowner. I'm Greg Ernst, patio enclosures.
What is your name again?
Greg Ernst.
E-R-N-S-T?
Correct.
Okay, you're looking for relief from front yard setback, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all yours.
Well, I first met Mrs. Epps about a year ago, and she told me an amazing story about how she works as a nurse, two jobs plus, 104 hours a week. And I said, when do you relax? And she says, I don't. But she has a growing family. She has an elderly mother at home, 92 years old. She's taken care of. She has children that live at home that she takes care of. And she's pretty much just outgrown her house. Faced with the proposition of either selling and moving or expanding what she has, she hopes to build a sunroom on the front of her house when a few hours she's awake, she can relax in with her mother. So, so we have this 30-foot setback. We're proposing to build a sunroom which is 24 feet back from the road. On here it does note new stairs, 19 feet. And forgive me on this, but I don't know why we didn't make this change and put those stairs on the side. So if that makes granting this variance a little bit easier, I'd be all in favor of turning the stairs to the side and not worrying about that 19-foot setback. And everything would be within the 24-foot setback. But the plans do show the stairs going right towards the street. We wouldn't object to putting the stairs towards the driveway on the side.
I'm a little bit confused here. What's before us tonight is an addition on the front of the building.
Yes.
And what were you just saying?
So on the plan, shows
Bring that
the,
microphone a little bit closer, so, there you go.
on the plan, it shows the sunroom on the front of the building.
Yes,
And then it also shows the steps coming off the front of the sunroom towards the street. towards 12th Ave. Looking at the front of her house, her driveway is to the right of the sunroom. So if it would make it easier to grant her relief, we wouldn't object to turning the stairs towards the driveway or to the side.
That would probably make more sense.
I think so. So
That was the original plan. I don't know why this show that is going to the front. When they came to me and talked to me about it, it was supposed to be on the side.
I think there was an oversight somewhere in our part.
Okay, so you're telling us tonight that the porch that you want to put on is accurate, 10 by 12,
Yes,
and you want to relocate the stairs to the side of that sun porch, so the relief now is from 30 feet to 24 feet.
correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we can disregard the 19 feet, if that makes more sense to the board. Hoping to make all our lives easier.
Okay, so you're building within the setback, so you are asking for a variance for relief from front yard setback, so you need to demonstrate some kind of a hardship here. What is the hardship?
Oh, once again, it's a, I want to call it a front-to-back split. I think it's pretty commonly around the city. They've outgrown the house. How long have you owned it, you said? You told me.
I don't know, I've been there
Yeah,
for 14, since 2014.
okay. So, as her family has grown, they've sort of outgrown the house. Her kids are growing. Her mother's since moved in with her. And they're just getting tight for space inside that house.
I have a mentally challenged boy. When we built the addition, it was for my son. So that took away some of the, room that we could have used for other things. And my mother lives with me. She loves looking at outside, and we don't have that leisure. So I feel like if we build the sunroom, my mother can sit out and look at outside and be happy. She's 90, and she doesn't really have that long to live.
Okay, let's get back to the hardship again. Relative to soil conditions, foundation, what can you tell us? Why does it have to go on the front of the house? Can it go anywhere else on the house?
Oh, yes, it can go anywhere else. I figured out because it's a conservation land, they will not mind. If it was in the front, it will be better. But if they want it any other place, that's okay too.
Okay, so basically you're telling us the only location that will fit is in the front of the house.
That's what I thought will have been a better place for it, but I'm not sure. Where there will be more sun, I guess. I don't know. Because the back doesn't really have that much sun. I don't know.
If you try to put this in the rear of the house, you're into wetlands situations which
Correct.
you don't want to get into.
Yes.
So for the least amount of problems, it looks like it's the front. And basically, because of the interior layout of the house, the porch needs to go where you want to put it. That makes sense. Just, That it?
Yes.
This is going to be enclosed, right?
Yes,
And have a roof side, so it'll be like a three-season porch type?
correct, yep.
Board members, any questions?
I don't have this.
I have a question on the location of the shed. When I went down there and looked at that, it appears as though that shed is pretty close to the street. That would be the shed that's on the north side of the house?
So the shed was, when it first built, it was in the back, and they asked us to move it, and that's exactly where they wanted it to be. We put it exactly where they asked us to put it.
Who put it there?
I don't know, either the conservation people, I'm not sure.
Put it there?
Huh?
A contractor put it there?
Yes, so we had to pull it and put it
Yeah, okay.
where it is right now because it was what they asked us to do. But at the beginning, it was in the back.
All right, very good. Any other questions from board members? We're good? I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'll open up for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberation among the board members only. Board members.
I think moving the stairs back to the side works a lot better, and it being in the front, considering it's in a buffer zone for conservation, that is the only other spot to put it, so I don't have an issue with it going in the front.
There was an order of conditions that was put on this property some years ago. I checked with conservation, and they're okay with this addition in the front, so that's been addressed.
Motion to grant?
Second.
On the motion, do you want to stipulate that the stairway will now be on the south side instead in the front?
Yes. Yep.
All right, a motion has been made and seconded with the stipulation that the front stairway, as shown on the plan, will be relocated to the sunroom on the south side of the sunroom. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition, as amended, is granted. Good luck. The next petition 2538 for 737 Warren Avenue is postponed. That will be rescheduled for the July meeting. $2539, the petition of Jason Burrell, 69 12th Street, Mass, for a special permit seeking relief from Article 4, Section 2736, 4, 5, and 6, for relief from flood zone ordinance standard to allow for the construction of a 3-family residential in an R1C zone located 136 Perkins Avenue.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Chris Vale, and I'm here on behalf of the petitioner Jason Burrell, and along with me is engineer Scott Ferrier. As you heard, this is a petition to the Zoning Board of Appeals seeking the special permit to build a new 3-family dwelling within with an existing rear garage on the lot, or also in the alternative that the proposed use is not substantially more detrimental pursuant to 40A Section 6. Some particular facts about Mr. Burrell's plot is that it's located at 136 Perkins Avenue in the city of Brockton, in which he bought it in 2024, which contains 8,700 square feet of land. The lot is in the new city's newly adopted MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, which allows multifamily dwellings to be constructed by right now. Thus, Mr. Burrell does not need to request a variance to build this 3-family structure. Currently, the land exists of a single-family residential structure that sits 6 feet from the corner roadways of Perkins Avenue and Riverview Street. Mr. Burrell wants to tear this down, this outdated structure, to construct a 3-family dwelling in a more suitable location on the lot. By moving the location of the structure, the new 3-family dwelling would meet the required front, side, and rear setbacks within what a standard R1C zone would be. The three-family building is designed to have a 3-bed, 2-bath unit on each floor, in which each unit will have around 1,240 square feet of space with a covered exterior deck. As shown on the plan, the rear of the property will have a 6-car garage that will be newly renovated with a proper parking and driveway scheme off of Riverview Street. The three-family will be properly sprinkled with proper ingress and exits to assure fire safety for its tenants. In addition, the location of the property on Perkins Avenue does have several multifamily residences, thus the project would not negatively impact the neighborhood. In regards specifically to the flood zone, the lot is partially located in a flood zone, thus requiring the special permit. The property is close to the Salisbury Plain River that creates the small portion of the lot being in this flood zone. Mr. Burrell has submitted his plans to the city's Conservation Commission, in which the Conservation Commission cannot and will not approve his plan until he receives a favorable decision of this project from the board. Mr. Burrell does understand that he still needs approval from the Conservation Commission to build this proposed three-family dwelling. I have also provided the board with a letter from Engineer Scott Faria, who did opine that the new construction will not have an adverse impact on the flood zone, but in fact will reduce the impact compared to its current condition. In regards to the 40A Section 6, the current use of the property is that it's abandoned and it's in terrible shape. The proposed use of a three-family home that meets R1C standard setbacks would vastly improve the current condition of the land. The newly constructed property will be raised and will be in a neighborhood that already has multifamilies. Under Section 6, the board must make a finding that the change will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use to the neighborhood. In the present case, the change will be substantially more beneficial to the neighborhood. The current condition and location of the existing foundation is located just merely 4 and 6 feet from public roadways. As previously stated, the structure is an eyesore with a large deteriorating garage. Thus, the three-family will be newly built and the existing garage will be renovated with 6 parking spaces for the property's tenants. Based on all these, we are requesting the special permit, or in the alternative, the 40A Section 6. And like I mentioned, we did submit to Conservation Commission. I know Mr. Ferrier has submitted that to Concom, but like I said, we need to go in front of you first before they will start looking at the project.
So basically tonight, the reason you're here is to allow construction in the flood zone.
Correct.
The MBTA overlay covers a three-family allowed in an R1 district, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Board members.
We've done these before. I just refreshed my memory on conservation will not look at this until we rule, and that's in the past as well. Mr. Ferry, is that correct?
Yeah,
We've dealt with these in the past.
exactly. The Wetlands Protection Act states that all permits have to be applied for. In your case, obviously, once we apply, we've got to go through with the whole process. So we submitted it 6 months ago. They won't even start the ball rolling until we see you folks.
Right, I just wanted to confirm that
Yep.
before.
Is there a section of this property that you are telling us is in the flood zone?
I can, well, I'll keep it. Actually, this is the flood map, Mr. Chairman, with the Salisbury River going through. This little red dot right here is our property. So it's really the entire property and, in fact, the entire neighborhood. Directly across the street is the old candy factory. Auburn Ave, I believe, is right here. All of these properties are all within the flood zone. So the entire lot and all of the neighboring lots are within the flood zone.
So in your dissertation, it said that there was so many square feet that were in the flood zone. It appears to me that everything's in the flood zone.
Yeah, it is.
That true?
That is correct.
So the board tonight needs to make a decision whether or not we should grant a special permit to allow this new building to be constructed on that parcel in the flood zone. That it?
Mr. Chair, I would argue that it's a variance, not a special permit in the floodplain.
I think it's a special permit for the floodplain, but it's a variance for what they want to put on the piece of property. But does the MBTA law supersede that?
No, the MBTA law supersedes the R1 zoning, does not supersede the flood zone. The flood zone in the ordinances did not have a single family or a three-family, any of these, in the floodplain allowances as principal uses. The only time a principal use is allowed is if, I believe, 40% of the area is outside of the floodplain, then the underlying district would allow that use in that 40% area. But if the entire property is under floodplain, then it's a variance required, not a special permit.
So normally, if 40% of this land was outside of the floodplain, and they were building on that 40%, we would be good.
Yes.
In this case, 100% of the lot is in the floodplain.
Correct. So therefore, it's a variance.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Well, Chairman, there's plenty of hardships in regards to this property with it being in a flood zone. So I am asking the board then to consider the variance.
All right, so just to address that situation, can you give us the hardships that you would relate to this location?
With the hardships with primarily the fact that it is in a flood zone by the river, that would create a hardship with topography and elevation as well as soil conditions.
So you're quoting the elevation of the property in relation to the adjacent river, and it's entirely in the flood zone, which creates a hardship.
Absolutely.
Can you address the situation with the garage that's in the back, that cinder block garage that...
That garage is pretty much deteriorated, in which Mr. Burrell wants to basically renovate it, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna rebuild it.
He's going to rebuild it completely. Can you describe what?
Well, right now it has a flat roof, so
Step up to the mic. Yep.
right now it has a flat roof, so we're gonna match the roof line with the front of the house. So it'll have like a gable end roof.
And you intend to use the structure itself? You're just going to change the roof?
No, we're gonna have the engineer go there and what we can save, we'll save, and what we can't, we'll rebuild.
I can't hear what you're saying.
I said the engineer will go there and what we can save, we'll save, and what we can't, we'll rebuild.
What he's saying is they're going to have an engineer come. It's going to stay the same footprint, but whatever they can save, they'll save, but they're going to rebuild the garage.
Well, I think if he rebuilds the garage, he's got to put it in compliance with the setback, which it probably is not right now. I think it's sitting right on the property line right now, up against the Edison building. And the building to the left of it is also part of the Edison building, right? The one that's right directly sitting on the river.
I don't know who owns that.
Stucco building.
Yeah, it's kind of that concrete building to...
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Edison.
All right. So we've established that we have a hardship here. He has shown us a hardship, and we all agree that this is entirely within the flood zone area. All right, anything else you want to add to that?
No.
Okay, board members, any questions?
My only question is now about that garage, and if he's going to need a separate variance for the garage for the setback.
I would think that if this is granted tonight and he takes that garage down, he's going to have to come back for another variance if he wants to put that garage back in the same spot. Is that right, building inspector?
That is correct. The garage would have to meet the, well, yes, because it's in the floodplain. But it would also meet the setbacks.
Current setbacks today.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Chief, you mean if he demolishes the garage and rebuilds a brand-new one, but if he renovates it, he wouldn't need to come back?
Building inspector. If he leaves all the walls up and changes the roof, he can leave it in the position it's in?
Yes.
I think so too, yeah.
So we wouldn't know that. He'd have to come back for another variance at another time after the engineer looks at it, is what you're getting at.
Right, I think what he said is if it has to be removed and a new garage built, then he's got to come back. Board members, any other questions? You good? Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'm going to open up for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberations among the board members. Board members.
I think this is the first one I've seen in 5 years that's completely in a flood zone.
Yeah, we've dealt with a lot with the city.
Yeah, some of them are partially, but, I mean, the whole neighborhood that goes up on that, along that wetland is also, so I have no problem with it. You're taking a, essentially a dilapidated building and putting in a new structure, so.
I agree. I think this goes to the one we just dealt with on Park Street is the same thing. I mean, Mr. Burrell obviously has aspirations to make this a nice property and rent it. It looks like the parking, even if that garage is there, it has the 6 spots. I think even if that garage was to come down and he didn't put a garage, he could probably put parking out in the back of the building. It's just a mess now, so I think it would clean a lot up.
Yeah.
My experience in that neighborhood has been I have personally seen that yard totally underwater. I've seen Riverview Street totally underwater. The front-to-back split that's on the east side of Riverview Street as you turn in from Perkins Avenue was totally underwater. So that area floods. There's no question it floods. It's in a flood zone. And if we are going to consider granting them the relief to build in a flood zone, there's a whole section of our ordinance here that basically limits what can be done. And I have a problem with a 3-family house that 3 separate families could be living in that piece of property and the property floods, and it's going to affect 3 families. There's also a section in here that says that if we grant this, we technically are supposed to send a letter indicating that that land is subject to flooding, and they have to notify their insurance companies relative to us granting them the flooding. I am hard-pressed to find a hardship why we should allow a 3-family house to be built on a lot that I personally know in heavy rains, when that river comes up, that lot's going to go underwater, and Riverview Street all the way down to the curve in front of the old Edison building, I've seen that totally underwater where we could not get through there with fire apparatus. So I know it's a dilemma as to what can go on this piece of property, but in my opinion, I think what's being proposed tonight is not the appropriate use of that piece of property, particularly in the flood zone. I will not vote to build a 3-family house and have people move into that house and then suddenly some morning wake up and find out all their cars in the garage are underwater and they can't get out of the yard, can't get out of the house. It's happened in the past, it's going to happen again. So there's got to be an answer somewhere, but I don't know if this is the correct answer.
I guess my question amongst all of us is that for conservation to decide, though? in that regard with the flood zone. Are we, I don't want to overstep our, I don't know, it's a confusing dilemma to me.
Well, it's actually, we've gone both ways on this.
I know.
But it has been explained to me, and it says right in our ordinance, that the Conservation Commission cannot take action on this without action from the zoning board if zoning is required. So they're telling us that zoning has to make a determination that this is an appropriate use. After it comes to conservation, pretty much their hands are tied that they, I don't know if they can deny it after we've approved it,
That makes no sense.
but they can do remediation. I just don't know what remediation can be done on this piece of property.
So, just so I understand correctly, Conservation's hands are tied after we say we vote unanimously yes. Now, Conservation can't do anything about that. Why is it even going to them then? You see what I'm getting at? It seems to me there's a flaw in the system here. It should go to them first
Well, if you put it
to make a determination on the flooding, then come to us, because the problem's the flooding. The problem is necessarily the zoning. I just feel like it's backwards, like everything else.
Technically, when you look at our zoning, it is our decision whether or not it is appropriate to do what they want to do within that flood zone. It makes it awkward if the Conservation Commission says that it's allowed, and then it comes to zoning, and zoning says, no, you can't do that. So I think what we're hearing from the Conservation Commission is they want the zoning to determine whether or not what is proposed can be done, and if it can, then it goes to Conservation, and Conservation then does remediation. Usually they will put retention ponds, whatever they normally do, but on this piece of property, it's so small, I don't know what remediation they could do.
I mean, it would be nice to know what the options were, how often it flooded.
It floods.
I mean,
we all know it floods regularly.
How regularly? I'm not sure how.
Oh,
is that
yeah. I mean,
monthly, or-
we've had sinkholes in the roads down there because of the flooding. I mean, that's no question. But I guess the way, I don't know if statutorily is the right word to use, but it makes no sense for us to make a decision on something if they're going to say it floods anyways. And it's a problem to build there anyways. And if their hands are tied once we say things, that's even crazier. I don't mean to get off on a tangent. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't think the Conservation Commission can act on something that the zoning board has denied. So if we deny this tonight, the Conservation Commission will not hear it. I think the awkward part is if it goes to Conservation and they spend time doing things and then it gets to zoning and zoning says, no, you can't do that, then whatever has been done in Conservation is disallowed. And it's explained to me, it's very explicit that the first step is zoning. If it doesn't need zoning, then they go strictly to Conservation. In this case, it requires zoning, so Conservation wants to know if the zoning board will allow what they're proposing to do. And that's where we're at. And as the building inspector said, if part of that property, 40% of that property was outside of the flood zone, and they were going to build in that 40%, it makes the decision relatively easy. In this case here, 100% of the entire neighborhood is within the flood zone, so it does create a dilemma. So I think it's up to the board, our board, to determine whether or not it's appropriate to allow them to build what they want to build on that lot. If we allow it, then the Conservation Commission can step in and do whatever they got to do. If we deny it, then it does not go to Conservation. So I think that's where we're at.
Chairman, could I just say one thing in regards to
I
conservation?
will allow you to speak for 30 seconds.
Thank you. I do believe conservation can shut this down after they review the project. I know Mr. Ferrier knows more, but of course they can shut it down. And in regards to the MBTA, who basically said that they've relaxed these and are allowing multifamilies to be built in this zone, what's going to happen with it? He wants to build a brand-new house and fix up that neighborhood that already has residential areas that does have flood zone or flooding issues. I do think that going upwards with it and raising it is going to be beneficial, but Conservation Commission's going to be taking a look at this closely and deciding what different avenues he needs to do in order to build this project.
Okay.
Back to us. So remediations they could decide on would be to raise that lot, bring fill into that lot.
Don't know, I don't know.
No, we don't know. I'm thinking out loud amongst us. If that was to be the case, potentially, now we could flood other people's neighborhoods, other people's yards worse than they were before. We've dealt with this on the north side a couple of times. Sorry.
So if the Conservation Commission allowed them to change the topography to address the flooding, that would be a decision of the Conservation Commission. I don't know if they will allow that, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Okay.
But the first step is us.
I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to grant. And what we're granting is the ability to build 100% in the flood zone. Correct?
Yes, variance.
Variance. All right. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative.
Vote is 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The petition is denied.
Thank you.
The next petition, 2540, the petition of Daniel K. Trout, trustee, 1136 North Main Street, Revocable Trust, of 490 High Street, Abington, Mass., for a variance, seeking relief from Section 2732 and 2739 to expand an existing non-conforming use to construct and operate a drive-through in conjunction with a Dairy Queen in a C5 zone located at 1136 North Main Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, with your permission, I'm Attorney Jim Burke, and I have law offices at 48 North Pearl Street in Brockton, Massachusetts. And I have the pleasure of representing Dan Trout, who's here. Dan is, in fact, a commercial loan officer, first with the Community Bank, where I first met him, and now the Northeastern Savings Bank. And he's been active within the business community now for a few decades. What we have here is that Mr. Trout purchased a few years ago the Dairy Queen that's located at 1136 North Main Street from the Deftos family. Now, this is a business on 2 parcels of land. The significant parcel is the one in which the building is on, and it is an extremely small parcel of 14,000 square feet and somewhat irregularly shaped, but it has in fact conducted a business since 1960, serving fast food as part of the Dairy Queen brand. What Mr. Trout would like to do and is requesting the permission of this board is to be allowed to construct a drive-through in order to improve the basic operations and we believe improve the existing facility so it will be less impactful on the neighborhood. What you have here is a pre-existing non-conforming structure on a pre-existing property with a pre-existing non-conforming use. Mr. Vale, who was just here before me, gave a brief primer on the law of non-conforming uses. In fact, you're allowed to expand a pre-existing non-conforming use, giving certain criteria, but basically the standard is that it is not, in fact, more harmful, the use that's applied, than it is in the existing neighborhood. In the alternative, we sought to secure from the Zoning Board of Appeals, if required, a variance for relief to allow the drive-through on the specific property. What do you have now? What you have is a seasonal operation. It's a drive-through, it's a Dairy Queen, that basically has no barrier along Berkside Avenue, which is a highly residential street. The way North Main Street is regulated now, that a small portion going in is within a C5 business zone. And that's somewhat important to this particular case, because in order for a use to be allowed there that would meet the conformance of the C5 zone, it would have to be something like a medical, business, professional office, a number of existing uses that in fact will not be allowed based on the economic restraints of the pre-existing structure, which is essentially non-functional as it relates to a C5 zone. That creates a hardship within itself. Then you have, in fact, the size of the lot, the 14,000 square feet, the way the business is placed, which basically essentially makes it economically unfeasible to utilize within the parameters that we have established for a C5 zone. All of which allows for basically the allowance of a variance that we're seeking to secure from the board, but again, only if the board determines that it's inappropriate to grant a permission for a drive-through within the pre-existing non-conforming use. Why do I say permission? Because the statute's actually a little bit different. It isn't really even a special permit. What the statute calls upon is a finding of the Zoning Board of Appeals that it meets the criteria that it is not, in fact, substantially more impactful on the neighborhood. But why we think this actually provides a benefit for the residents and for the existing structure, and in fact, the business isn't going to go away. What we're doing now is we're reconfiguring so that the northern side of the parcel now is essentially flush with the roadway. So you can drive right in onto the property from Berkside Avenue. What the developer and the owner is seeking to do here now is he's going to close off Berkside so it will no longer be accessible to traffic. What he's going to do is he's going to move in, and Scott will be giving you this stuff in a very short period of time. All vehicles now will enter from North Main Street and they will exit from North Main Street. So essentially, you're reconfiguring the utilization of the property so that it's substantially less impactful on the surrounding neighborhood. Also, it is a small lot, and there is existing sufficient spaces that Scott can lay out for you. What's going to wind up happening here now is, by the allowance of the drive-through, you're essentially establishing a 13-unit queuing lane, which in fact will have less impact on the utilization of the property, because the drive-through will in fact contain most of the structures, because it isn't vehicle structures, because it's an easy in and out. And we all know human nature. What's the easiest way in and out is the utilization that you'll take. What he's proposing is a 1,000 square foot addition, small, with the specific drive-through, which will be shown in the plans. If the board is so inclined to grant permission, because of the small size of the lot, there's not much you can do in the Berkside Avenue area. But what he will be, and is more than happy to do as a stipulation, to create an ornamental fence so that there is a separation visibly and for vehicles between Berkside, the surrounding neighborhood, and the utilization of the property. On the westerly side of the lot, again, because it's so small, it's virtually impossible to do anything as it relates to green space on the property. He's reached out to the abutter, which is a direct abutter with a residential use, and has offered to create a buffer of, what's the name of the plant? Scott? Arborvitaes, thank you. We always throw out arborvitaes because they grow like weeds, and they're 10 feet tall within a couple of years. And you can even get king arborvitaes on a project because they're deer resistant. Not a problem I think we have here. But the offer to the abutter is that he would provide the arborvitaes on their property. It would become their arborvitaes and they would maintain them. Basically, it's an open offer. It hasn't been accepted or rejected. That's a willingness of the owner to reach out to the community, kind of help and reach an understanding if it's impactful. Lighting. Right now, there should not be a significant impact on the neighborhood, but irrespective of that, when we leave here, if you give us a vote to go forward, we have to go to the planning board. We will stipulate and agree to create a lighting plan that will be approved by the planning board, which will require all lighting to in fact be down-facing, will not reflect in the surrounding area. Whatever plan that the planning board approves, it will be an improvement on the utilization of this specific structure. So, what we have here in substance is, what I think is, a construction of an existing facility and lot reconfigured to make it more economically useful for the developer and bring it to the 20th century, 21st century, so that it will be able to function as a better business operation. It will, in fact, wind up being less impactful in the surrounding neighborhood, and will be allowed to operate within the conditions you establish, which in fact are essentially the same conditions that have been operating since the 1960s. If the board were so inclined to, again, determine that a finding that it's not more impactful under the non-conforming use statute is inappropriate, there's ample reason why you would grant a variance. Because in fact, what you have is the unique small size, the size of the lot, the unique shape of the lot, the fact that it is in fact a commercial island surrounded by residential, which does not allow for a reuse of the property to a conforming economic use. It basically is economically unfeasible to redevelop that structure for a commercial use. So I think you reach the basic criteria that you need in order to grant what Mr. Trout is doing. He's an operator who's reached out to his neighborhood, is more than willing to listen to any suggestions and try to make improvements that might benefit. But essentially the plan, I think, is a better operational and visible improvement, both in the North Main Street area and the smaller nucleus of the Berkside Avenue Living District. Scott, would you please go over the plan for the zoning board?
Well, as Attorney Burke said, the current conditions on the site, there's an existing driveway off of North Main Street. Berkside, there is no curbing, there's no curb cut. It's just 100 feet of entry and exit out onto Berkside. So in looking at the proposed development, we figured the best thing to do was to get all the traffic on North Main Street through the existing driveway and block off Berkside. So we'll do that. As Attorney Burke said, we're proposing curbing along the existing edge of pavement and then also an ornamental fence on our property line just to make sure that nobody's, it's going to stop people from parking and obviously from entering and exit the site, but it'll also stop people from parking on the edge of the property. by having the curbing there. With the drive-through, we have 13 cars shown in the queue lane, so there's 13 cars that are able to wait in the drive-through. We still have 23 spaces on the property. We've created some green space across the front on North Main and a little bit around the back. There's a little outdoor seating area that we're also proposing. It's a better flow for traffic and pedestrians than what's there now with cars being able to cut right across the property. The one other benefit to the new project, as we've talked about before, with all of these commercial jobs that have to go to site plan approval, we also need stormwater approval. So right now, you have this 20,000 square foot property that's draining uncontrollably out onto North Main and Berkside. With this development, we'll have to propose drainage on site, so we'll handle all of the stormwater on our property as a subsurface, an infiltration system. So we'll greatly increase the drainage benefits to the neighborhood. As Attorney Burke said, our typical process with the planning board is to do a lighting plan, so we'll certainly have that lighting plan that guarantees we don't have any light shedding on the residential neighborhoods as well.
So I guess for my purposes to close, what's important on any of these is you got to have an operator who works in conjunction with the neighbors in the neighborhood. You have a good operator who intends to stay there. He's looking to expand to make sure that he has the ability to stay there. But when you say expand, really what he's just doing is he's operationally improving the business to increase efficiency and hopefully in his benefit, revenue production. And that's it. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions that you may try to have.
How many
is there
parking spots?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
How many parking spots do you currently have?
I would guess probably 30, the 23, and then a roll across the front, so probably about 30.
And when the drive-through goes in, how many will you have then?
23. 23 spaces plus the 13 cars in the queue.
Okay.
Is there an order screen, an order box? Where would you be stopping in the queue? Could you just take us through the queue and how that would work?
Sure. So everybody, again, entering off of North Main Street, the traffic flow will go around the building counterclockwise, and the order screen is behind the building, roughly parallel to North Main Street. So probably about 4 cars back from the window.
Okay.
That's an audio, talking to someone inside?
Yes.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You have proposed an iron rod fencing, is that what I see there?
Yes.
Could those sections be closed, right in front of the order box?
Yeah, I think.
I know you don't have room for green space.
Yeah, no, we do have a stockade fence shown on that lot line, directly abutting the neighbor.
Okay.
I think the ornamental fence would be across the front on Berkside.
Okay.
So that's an ornamental fence going down Berkside Avenue?
Correct.
My fear is, obviously, people parking and trying to walk through the queued cars, so.
Yep.
Obviously, but I guess I didn't understand that when you first said it. Perfect, all right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right.
Just a couple of other things. Do we have a neighbor here tonight, the neighbor that owns that house on Berkside, or anyone, a letter that they'll be able to speak? But you don't have to speak now. If you're here, we need someone to say, yeah, you can put stuff on their land. I'm not going to, not that I don't want to take your word for it, but there's not a letter in here, that's why. So we'll get to that.
That's a different lot.
I think my biggest concern in this entire thing, as the fire chief, is your outdoor patio. If some of you haven't noticed, I think we lead the per capita of people hitting buildings in the entire Commonwealth here in the City of Champions. I would be remiss if I didn't discuss the potential of putting bollards up around that to protect the people that are sitting on that patio area. I just, people in this city lately hit everything but the road. And someone in that queue line, and we have little kids sitting out there eating their ice cream, I'd be deeply concerned.
We
about
certainly,
what goes on there.
we can incorporate that. That makes a lot of sense.
I don't know how far apart they need to be. That's a whole other issue that I don't deal with. But I think that would be, from a safety perspective, that's very important.
I think that might be site plan review, but yeah.
Sure.
I'll pick that up on review if it gets to that point.
Thank you.
In your peak hours, how many cars do you usually get in the drive-through? Any idea?
I don't know the answer. Dan, do you want to introduce yourself and your address?
Anticipated?
Yeah, max.
Would you please identify yourself?
I'm sorry, I'm Dan Trout. I'm the owner of DC Treats. Hi. I anticipate that, during the real peak hours, which is typically 7 to 9, that the queue probably would be full.
So are your hours of
10
operation?
to 13, sorry,
Are the hours of operation going to stay the same, or are they going to increase?
They're going to stay the same.
My concern is just on the North Main Street side, if they're waiting in the drive-through, maybe blocking in the other customers. So.
It's actually a problem now with if you've ever been over there, with where all the parking spaces are. It's a very fluid situation. People have to be careful. So I think it would be similar in that people are going to have to, wait for that one car to move up until they pull out. So, and that's similar to what happens now, because there's a lot of congestion in the parking lot because there's 3 or 4 different ways people come in, and it's kind of a mess.
The one other point on that, it's just ice cream, so it's not McDonald's where you're waiting for things to come out of the oven or off the fryer to serve. It's just ice cream, and it's going to remain primarily ice cream. So I think it's a little bit.
It flows
quicker.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, I've got a lot of experience going through the Middleborough drive-through at Dairy Queen.
Yep.
And it, the guys pretty much move really quick. There's never that much of a backup at all.
If you're going to speak on it, just grab the microphone.
So it's funny you bring that up. When this happened, I was going through Rockland, Abington area, and I looked at the one in Abington, and that one was on. I think do they have food there as well in Abington? If you're aware. No, they don't. All right, so that would have been the same pace at which.
Yeah, I believe they have a 10-car queue at Abington.
Okay.
So we're going to accommodate a few more.
Okay.
Middleborough, which Mr. Ferrier referred to, has I think they can handle 34. So that's a massive one.
In the business hours again, I'm sorry, I know you said that already, but.
Yeah, right now we've anywhere from 11 to 10. Right now we're 11:30 to 10.
Okay, thank you.
7 days?
Yes. Seasonal. Typically, we've opened sometime in March and close in and around Halloween. Sometimes we go, if it's a nice fall, we'll go into November, first week.
What is the purpose of this addition you want to put on the back?
Right now, it's a very tight operation. So part of it is to be able to handle the drive-up. We're going to have to add another ice cream machine and a whole setup area. In addition to the drive-up additional business, we plan to expand into ice cream cakes, which requires additional space. So that's the 2 main reasons for the additional space.
If I was to go in the queue line and I gave my order, I guess I would be car number 4 or car number 5. How much time would I be in line before I got to where car number 1 is?
It would depend a little bit about the number of orders that are in front of you. If everyone's ordering 1 or 2 things, which is kind of typical, that moves pretty quickly. We're going to have dedicated staff that, like I'm speaking to you, taking the order. Somebody would be taking the order and making the order as it comes out of the machine, out of the receipt. So that moves pretty quickly. We do back up when somebody comes in and orders 8 to 10 things. So in that case, I anticipate, as anybody that's been through a drive-up, sometimes they ask you to pull around if you're going to block the line. So if somebody comes up and has an order of 10 orders, we ask them to come up and park, and then we'll bring it out to them.
Do you subscribe to any of the delivery services? And if so, would they be utilizing the drive-through?
They would not be utilizing the drive-through. That is something we're looking into. It's personally unbelievable that someone orders an ice cream through a delivery, but evidently it's very popular. We have not done it yet. We do take online orders, but the DoorDash and Uber Eats, we do have a dedicated window that Scott can point out on the plan that the drivers will pull up there, come up to a separate window and pick that up. So they will not be in the drive-up lane.
Okay, thank you.
What are you proposing for landscaping along the Berkside Avenue side of this property,
Well,
if any?
I think as we suggested, we don't think we have the availability to put any landscaping, except that's why we're looking to put the ornamental fence, which will have I think, a visual improvement of what exists now, and also create a separation. There just is not a lot of space. I mean, if we told you we could do a 1-foot planting, I mean, I'm not sure how impactful that would be.
I don't think you got room there either. So if I was the number 12 or 13 car in line, in order to get in that position before I actually get my stuff and drive out, I could be in this line for 20 minutes or more. What I'm leading up to is, in many of these cases, there's what they call an escape lane, that if you got into the line and needed to leave, once you get into this line, you're trapped. You cannot get out.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And that's because of the space constraints here.
Because of the problem associated with the lot, the pre-existing lot, yes.
You're hopping on your hardship.
I am. And I'm also making an improvement. I'm making it better, and that's, I think, important.
We asked a lot about hardships tonight.
Yes, we do.
He took the cues.
All right, so the question I had relative to the expansion of the building, one of the things you're asking for in the variance is expanding more than 50% of the building. That's one of the things that we got to vote on tonight. And you're asking for a finding that what is proposed here be no more detrimental to the neighborhood than what it is right now.
Correct.
Correct? So you're looking for two votes here. Yeah. No?
Mr. Chair, I'd say the 2 votes is correct. The first one being a variance for the more than 50%, and the second variance would be for a change in the use. Our zoning regulations delineate differences between restaurants and restaurants with drive-throughs. So it would be a slight change in use from a regular restaurant to a restaurant with a drive-through. Just another variance.
What about the 50% increase?
The 50% increase would be included in the first variance. No finding would be necessary. It'd be a straight variance.
Strictly a variance, no finding?
Correct, because you're more than 50% of the original square footage. I can read that section for you if you'd like.
You're talking about the structure?
The structure, correct.
Okay. I'm not sure I agree in terms of the variation of the drive-through with the variance, but again, I'm offering the hardship and inviting the board, if they think it's appropriate, to grant the variance, because essentially it is the same use, the same quality, the same purpose as existed at the time of the creation of the non-conforming use, the same character. So it meets all the criteria of the expansion of a non-conforming use. So I think you could make the finding without the necessity of a variance in that respect. But what we'd like is an okay from the board, however it determines it's the best way to go.
So I'd like to revisit the neighbor's property. What's the extent you're willing to go to buffer that area? Are you willing to double up two rows, planting them at mature heights and not waiting years for them to grow? Could we elaborate a little bit on what is possible and what you're willing to do?
I also want to add to that, you're asking for an expansion, but this expansion won't allow you to add a sound barrier on your property, from what I can see in the drawings.
Sound barrier would be the fence, correct?
Would be the arborvitae's, because it's, to me, the fence is, it's not going to be as much as a buffer as planting would be when it comes to sound. So that's my only concern with this expansion, is that that hasn't been taken in consideration.
Well, again, I think the reach out, if I can, to the neighbor, and we can't force them to take it. But in order to be effective for that specific property, it would need to be done on the abutter's own property. And we're willing to do that. And the difference between a single row and a spaced 2-row, it's not economically that difficult or expensive to do, and we'd be more than happy to consider that.
And planted at mature height, is that?
Yeah, I think
there's-
normally they come up about 7 feet right now, and they literally grow like weeds. In 2 years, they'll be 10 feet, and they could grow up to 15, 20 feet. And they are dense. They are dense.
When I went up and looked at that, on the neighbor's property to the west of where you want to put that fence, I noticed he's got a pretty extensive wall and things of that nature along his property. Yeah, he's got some pretty strong walls and whatever on his property already, so. All right, so, before we move on then, we are looking for a finding that whatever is proposed here will be no more detrimental to what's already there, or we also got to do a variance for the drive-through window, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Those would be the two we're concerned. Is that
Yes,
what you're
yes.
looking for tonight?
Yeah, I would say that, and I'll just read that, the finding requires it to be less than 50% of the structure's original square footage based on the zoning ordinance. So that the finding is only if the expansion is less than 50%. But if you're going to more than 50%, that would be a variance for the additional square footage. So it's just a variance for that, and then our zoning ordinances do delineate between restaurants and restaurants with drive-throughs. So it would be a slight change in use.
And it's a drive-through in a C5, not in a C2?
Correct. Which
So
is
we
the
don't know what the size of the current building is, square footage? It looks as though the new addition is better than 50% of the existing building, just from what I see on the plan.
I think we attached schematics for you. I think we did.
Mr. Chair, the existing building is 750 square feet, and I believe the addition is right around 1,100.
So that is far more than 50% of the existing building. So that requires a variance. Okay, as long as we understand that. All right, board members, any other questions? Good, at this point, I'm going to open it up for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Please come forward and give your name to the clerk.
Good evening, members. Chairman, Jeff Charnell, 23 Madrid Square, Ward 7 resident. I'm in favor of the development. Again, formerly I sat on the ZBA for many years. Currently the chairman of the License Commission. Things like this improve the neighborhood traffic. Right now, you can SWAT from anywhere. So I think the ZBA's purpose is really to try to confine and maintain these things within the confines of the property, which this is doing. So I'm in favor of the development, and I wish you guys would be too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening to the board members and to the chairman. My name is Gino Victor. I'm one of the owners next door at 1130 North Main Street, and we're in favor of it. We noticed that some days there's congestion there, and even on hot days there's more congestion. But with the drive-through, that'll make it conveniently easy for most families to go in and get their ice cream. Most families tend to park their vehicle there, get out, go get ice cream, and then go back in the car and sit. And while they're doing that, other people are waiting to get in. So therefore, I think the drive-through will be very helpful to keep the traffic going. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor?
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Thelwell, 31 Lowell Street, resident of Ward 7 as well. I use that Dairy Queen often, if you guys couldn't tell, and it's really nice, and I think this is a great improvement to it. Like the last guy mentioned, there is a lot of congestion today as present, so I think that the drive-through would be very helpful, and closing off Berkside Avenue as well. Thank you, guys.
What is your address?
31 Lowell Street, Brockton, Massachusetts.
I'm not getting the street.
31 Lowell Street. Lowell, like this, like the city.
Okay, good, I got you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Okay, we have numerous people that want to speak in opposition. The only thing I would help the hearing is if each one of you will have the opportunity, if you desire, to speak, but if you don't keep regurgitating everything that we've heard, that would be helpful. So if you have something new to add as we go along, that would make the hearing go along quicker. So if you have a spokesperson that wants to get started, that'd be fine.
Thank you. My name's Terrence Mullins. I'm actually here speaking on behalf of my parents who live at 1150 North Main Street. They lived there their entire life. My mother was actually born in that house, and part of the Dairy Queen was actually her parents' baby shoe factory at one time, so we're very familiar with that area. They have several concerns. The main issue is traffic issues on North Main Street. The plan's going to send the traffic in and out of the site through North Main Street, which already has heavy use, especially in the afternoon and evening. With on-street parking now available on both sides of North Main Street, cars turning into the Dairy Queen can't easily pass around other cars. So if you're coming up where North End Market is, and you get four or five cars trying to get into Dairy Queen at that one entrance, if you get 4 or 5 cars back up, now you're blocking the North End Market, you're going to be blocking Augustine Street. And because there's parking there as of, I think, the last year or two, those cars aren't going to be able to go around. So those cars that don't want to get into Dairy Queen are going to be stuck in the traffic as well. The same thing if you're coming from the Avon side and you're trying to take a right into the Dairy Queen, there's parking spaces on Main Street there too. So if you get like 6 or 7 cars going that way, you're going to block off Berkside and you're going to block off Wilder across the street as well from people trying to get out. The other issue is with the drive-through, the layout, when we looked at the plan. The redesign is going to create circulation issues on the property. I mean, on busy summer nights, the drive-through lane will potentially back up, making it hard for other vehicles to get in the parking lot, to get out of the parking lot, and even to park in the parking lot. If you're going to have 13 cars in there, and like you said, everyone's waiting for 4 or 5 things, that line's going to go all the way out. No one's going to be able to get in and get out. And if you look at the plan on the front of North Main Street, those parking spots, people are going to be stuck in those spots because the line's going to go around over there. And since, most places that have the drive-through windows, like people mentioned McDonald's and stuff like that, those things are pre-made. So those lines are going to move faster than something at Dairy Queen where everything is made fresh right there. If you're getting 4 or 5 Sundays, that's going to take time to make all 4 or 5 Sundays and pack them up and get them in there. Closing off the access to Berkside, removing the existing curb cut on Berkside, it's just going to create more problems for the neighborhood over there. My parents live right as you come across onto Berkside. They're the first house on the corner of North Main Street and Berkside Ave. Even with that open now, we have cars that park all up the side of that fence. They've actually blocked the driveway. We've had people park in their driveway so they can't even get out of the garage. We actually had to have a sign installed up there, active driveway, don't park. If you're going to put a fence along that open part, people are just going to come into Berkside, and they're going to park on both sides of Berkside now. It's going to make it worse over there. I do feel this is going to be detrimental to the neighborhood. I think the more traffic is going to be generated, the neighborhood will become more congested. It's going to change the appearance of it. It's going to change the character of the neighborhood. It's going to give it a more commercial feeling. So for that, they're asking that you don't approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Richard Reed, and I'm representing North Baptist Society. We are the next house to the Mullins, 15 Berkside, and likewise, we have the same problem of people parking in front of our driveway and in front of the house, on our lawn. Then we have to deal with the trash that's there. Now, I was originally told it'd be a berm. blocking off the Burke side, and to me, that is, a problem looking to happen because the state plows in the winter, and they all use and turn around at the Dairy Queen, and so I can just see one guy coming in with his plow down and hit the berm or low fence there, and that's a disaster waiting to happen. So again, looking at the flow of it with 13, I too frequent the place. I love the blizzards, but it takes, again, 4 minutes, I think, about to make a blizzard for me. And if you have a car in the drive-through ordering 4 blizzards, that's 16 minutes of construction for those blizzards. It's just going to create more and more traffic. And of course, the North Main Street, as Mr. Mullins said, is that's a problem with just having that one point of entry, because sometimes I'm right now as it is, and it has nothing to do with Dairy Queen. This is North Main traffic. It takes me 4 or 5 minutes to get out of Berkside, to get onto North Main, to come here. Like even tonight was 3 minutes to come to this meeting, sitting there at the corner. With only, that one entrance now, it's going to be worse. There's no traffic study to show us what would happen, and I'm concerned about that because, again, I deal with it every single day. Several of the other neighbors, butters, gave me letters, saying, they were against it. It just wasn't, 2 of us. It was many more that are concerned about, again, the traffic, the quality of life. And again, not knowing what they're going to put there, it's scary to us. And I have in my house, and I can pull up my phone now, a camera sitting out front of my house, and it points at Dairy Queen. And I use that all the time because then it tells me how big the line is, whether it's time for me to leave the house and go over there. And places like, Chief Nardelli, Fire Station 3 won't be able to park there anymore because there'll be no place for the fire truck to come over when they do. But again, that's, it's all traffic flow and the quality of life for us, so that we're really concerned about. So thank you. And again, we're just opposed to it. I want them to do well, but not at the cost of the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, congratulations, Mr. Trout, on acquiring the Dairy Queen. I'm here to oppose the improvements to the property, as already mentioned.
Identify yourself.
Pardon me?
Please identify yourself.
My name is Ed Hayden. I'm at 36 Brookside Avenue.
Thank you.
As outlined already, the difficult intersection already. We live in a highly congested residential area. There's issues with trash. And now we're going to be dealing with idling cars sitting in line waiting for Dairy Queen. In addition to the items already mentioned by the other folks here, I respectfully request denial of the proposed zoning appeal.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Eric Lutz. I live at 59 Berkside Ave. Hearing a lot of comments from the board or questions from the board about sound barriers and things like that, which would be typical, I guess, if we were talking about putting something in a neighborhood. You'd want to know the impact, but nobody's talking about traffic. There hasn't been any traffic studies. You all live in Brockton, I assume, as board members. You know that area of North Main Street where East and West Main Street in Avon converge on Main Street in Brockton, a block away from Montello and a mile from Oak Street, is horrendous traffic. To get down here tonight, like my fellow neighbor here, I had to wait just to pull out of a dead-end street at Brookside. It's horrendous traffic. It is either stopped or the converse is you get cars coming off of Memorial Boulevard. They come down there 40, 50 miles an hour, and you have to peek out a little bit because The road narrows and turns right where the Berkside and the Dairy Queen is. It's a very, very dangerous traffic situation. The attorney that was talking said that it was a commercial island, which I don't understand at all, since there's a commercial building right next door. One of the abutters spoke. He has a commercial building right there. There's a commercial building right across the street from it. I know Mr. Trout, he's an excellent gentleman and an excellent businessman, and I'm certain that as a banker, he would not have purchased the business 1 year ago, and a year later decided it's a hardship and he needs to have a drive-through to be able to be profitable. So if he's applying for this under a hardship, I don't see how that can possibly be granted, because it's a successful business. Congratulations on him buying it. It's been there since 1960. There are traffic issues there. I moved into that neighborhood. The building was already there. It's part of life. But this particular project, in terms of trying to wall off Berkside from there, people are still going to pull in and park. It's just going to be a nightmare. Talking about buffers and green space, right now behind the property, there are trees, and it's just green space, and it's a buffer for the neighborhood. To put the drive-through in, that all needs to be raised. So full-growth maples, everything needs to be taken down in order to put this drive-through in. And then if you want to start talking about the noise, you're going to have that. The other abutter is literally, that's the property line there. So that you're going to hear cars waiting there with the music and everything. It's just going to be an absolute detriment to the quality of life in the neighborhood. And I hate saying that, because I love Dairy Queen, and Mr. Trout's a great gentleman. I just don't think that this is the right project for the neighborhood, especially without a traffic study being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? I have a letter that has come in from Anika Lutz. And I think everything that you spoke about is probably in this letter. Are you familiar with the letter that came in?
I am my daughter.
Anika? Hanukkah? Yeah. Okay. She is writing to the board in opposition, and she's talking about the roads coming in from Avon, the increase in traffic. The loss of all of the trees at the rear of the building. No net positive in this scenario except to potentially increase the projected profits of the owner at the expense of everyone living and traveling in this area. For these reasons, I sincerely appeal to the zoning board to prioritize the daily lives of local Brockton and refuse to grant the Trout Revocable Trust proposition as an abutter. So that is a letter in opposition. And I had another one came in from Fred Mullins, who spoke. So you're all set on that one. All right. You want to speak in opposition?
Yes.
Okay, just give your name.
Hi, my name is Evan Zoreem. I'm the son of the owner and Doreen of 20 Berkside, right next to the Dairy Queen. Again, love Dairy Queen. It's great, but like many people said, the trees would all have to be torn down. The lighting that's...
Could you just take that microphone closer?
Yep. The lighting that's planned to be put in to be facing downward, I don't think would do much because of how close our property is to the Dairy Queen. Also, again, the trash is a problem, and I think with putting up that barrier on Berkside, closing off Berkside, with seeing like human nature, people are most likely going to go through the drive-through, see that that whole parking lot is congested, and then most likely park on the street on Berkside in front of our houses. It already happens now, where it goes down as far as, I would say, 59 Berkside, like down to your house, past that way, and then that's just on one side with the lots full. So, and in addition, which was already said with the traffic situation, I'm a biomed for kidney care, and I'm on call frequently. And a lot of the times, like for me, I have box truck. It could take people that have regular cars, SUVs, maybe 5-10 minutes And that's if they find a little gap that they maybe can squeeze in. I don't have that time. Like, I have to have a lot of space to turn out into the street. So I could be there forever. And then that's just, with that, I just think, like was said, is like an unsafe situation for most people. And going on that street, I feel like even with the speed limit, people aren't going what they should be going. They're going a lot faster. The roads were just redone, so they're nice and smooth. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I ask him a question? You're the one that you would have the arborvitae's on your property, correct?
Yes.
And did you agree to that, or is that something? It shows it on the plan, that's why, but it's not on the property of the owner. So I'm curious as to the arborvitae's in the agreement with the neighbor, that it was said it was going to be on your lawn, in your yard.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if you've had a conversation with my mother. I know she is against this, but I don't think she's made a decision on with the parameters of what would be brought into for the barrier. I know we had recently, I wouldn't say like a year, maybe 2 years ago, had moved our fence back to our exact property line. So we've already had some work done there, and that would probably have to be all redone. But I don't know if she's accepted or rejected the work that would be done on our property.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Yes.
So I did have one more question with the plan, because the way the front Dairy Queen is now, you have the three or four serving windows. Are those 4 serving windows still going to remain there? Or are you going to have to order at one window, then walk down to the other one, pick up at a different window? Or is it going to stay 4 active?
I know you asked me that before. Dairy Queen likes us to order at one spot and pick up at a different place because of the size of the constraints. It's much easier now to just have the person take the order. So that's to be decided. There's still going to be 3 or 4 windows open that people can come up to and do that. And that's just, if I could speak, well, I won't say anything. Thank you.
Well, just to add to that, it looks like there's a pickup window on the original building that's now going to be on the south side.
So the pickup window for the drive-up for the Uber and DoorDash, I think that's the one you're referring to?
Yeah, well, if you look on the plan, it's...
Yeah.
So car number 1 on this plan, you're saying the window to pick up your order will be where car number 1 is, correct?
Correct.
And the window that's beyond that, that's indented in, that would
Yes.
be a pickup for Uber?
Correct.
How would you stop people from coming over that window to pick things up?
So that'll be marked with, pickup only for orders.
Okay, very good. All right, is there anyone else that has a question on the testimony that's been given tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberation among the board members. Did I what? I think I did. In case I did not, is there any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? I think I said that. All right, now I'll close that portion of the hearing, and I will open it up for deliberations among the board members. Board members.
The gentleman in the green sweatshirt, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, he actually spoke briefly about the fact that he thinks it might speed up the process. I didn't actually think about it until he actually brought that up, so that was pretty interesting. I do have concerns, like I did in the 2-family we spoke of earlier, with headlights and noise in that window on the 20 Burke side that I asked the question about to the gentleman that came up last. I think the fence will do one thing, but I think anytime you put shrubbery in, it makes a big difference. It deadens a lot of things, that live vegetation, and not having something on that concerns me. I think this would do I think personally it would do great for the property. I think a lot of the things that we heard tonight here with trash and parking, I think those are ongoing issues. I don't know necessarily if the drive-through would change that. I think they have an issue, and that's an issue with Mr. Trout and maybe having people clean the neighborhood up, different things of that nature, whatever the case. I think that's ongoing. I think the idea of the drive-through doesn't change that. What I have bigger concerns, and we've talked about this a number of times with car washes and a number of things, where we're putting a car wash per se, just like we do something like this with loud noises and lighting and voice coming over amplified and things like that, the vacuums and stuff. I think they work well. They're a good analogy. That's what I have bigger concerns about. Again, I spoke of the bollards in the patio, but that's a whole different animal. That's where I lie with this. I think there's a great opportunity to make the property better per se, because I think, and not for nothing, I know Mr. Trout just bought it, I think it has been kind of run down over the years, and there hasn't been a lot of build out to it, but I think there is definitely some concern about noise in the neighborhood. I don't think the trash issue, the parking issue is going to go away or going to get worse, potentially. There could be an increased traffic issue on North Main Street, like some of the folks said, that is a concern. But I don't think the parking on Berkside is going to change any different if they were to put a drive-through in. I'm just trying to weigh it on a scale here. What I see is if it's going to derogate from the neighborhood as it is. So that's really all I have on it. I don't know if anyone else.
I think, and again, if this did go through, my issue is the one-way in and the one-way out. Depending on, are you always going to have 14, 13 cars in line? Not sure, but I think having another entrance in there, I think the plan needs some tweaks. But this is one I'm like, bless you. It's close either way with me on this one, so I can see the impact on the neighborhood if it's close to that neighbor. So things like how loud that speaker can be.
I don't think it should be on the onus of that abutter to make that decision for the rest of the neighborhood. So I have an issue with that.
I didn't catch, what was that?
So it shouldn't be the onus of the abutter to decide if they want the arborvitaes on their property. That sound could still travel and affect other neighbors. I think it's the responsibility of the business owner to put that on their property, to have that buffer. It's not a visual thing, it's a sound thing, so.
Several years ago, and I'm going to say it might be 20 years ago now, I can remember the city councilor working hard to make that area of North Main Street from Oak Street to the Avon line to be C5. They wanted professional offices. They did not want commercial occupancies developing along Main Street. Now, there was a number of them that were there prior to zoning that are functioning today. Some of them have expanded to the point where it is now causing traffic commission issues, that because of a change in the size of the work that's taking place within that building, more people are coming to the building, more traffic, more on-street parking, more parking problems. In this case here, this Dairy Queen has been here since I was in high school, and it was like the place to go. Everybody went to Dairy Queen. And it is what it is. It's a building that's in a C5 zone. It's not a C2, it's not a commercial zone, and it has existed as it has for a number of years. My concern is with the size of the addition that they want to put on it, the drive-through line, the access to get in and out of this location. I cannot see me voting to say that this will not have a negative impact on the neighborhood. I think this is, if we're going to do a finding, if one of our votes is going to be a finding, I cannot see how this would not have a detrimental effect. I'm not excited about the 12 or 13 cars in line because of the time that it's going to take to to process the food, you could be sitting in that line for 20, 25 minutes before you ever get to that window. As far as the Berkside Avenue situation, our ordinance says that they should be putting green space along Berkside Avenue, but they have no room to put that. So they are suggesting that they put a fence along there. My opinion is cars are going to turn into Berkside Avenue, particularly if they can't make the turn to get into the Dairy Queen driveway on North Main Street. They're going to go up Berkside Avenue, and they're going to do a three-point turn, or they're going to turn around in people's driveways. They're going to head east, and they're going to park on the east side or the south side of Berkside Avenue and go in and get their ice cream. Right now, they can't park on that side of Berkside Avenue simply because it's wide open and cars are coming in and out, backing in and out. By putting this obstruction up there with the cars coming through, it makes a perfect parking spot on the south side of Berkside Avenue, which is going to be detrimental to the people who live on Berkside Avenue. I don't see too many good things with the proposal that's in front of us. I like the Dairy Queen. I've been there many, many times. I'm concerned about the size of the addition that goes on there. I don't know where this may lead to down the road, but there are Dairy Queens that are offering services well beyond what is traditionally Dairy Queen stuff. Now, whether it will grow, morph into that, I don't know. But this is a business that has conformed with that neighborhood up there for years, and I think what's being proposed here is not appropriate for the size of that lot and what they're proposing to do. When you look at other Dairy Queens, such as the one over in Abington, the lot is far bigger. There's a lot of movement. There is an escape lane. This thing here is on a small lot. Once you get in that line, you cannot get out of the line. If you got trapped in that line, it's like the line on the Southeast Expressway. Once you get in that line and something happens, you're trapped. You can't get out. Well, in this case here, if you get in this line and something happens and you need to get out, you can't get out. So for those reasons, plus the access of cars coming and turning and people walking across the drive-through lane, cars exiting the drive-through lane, heading for the driveway to go out to Main Street, people are going to be walking from the takeout window of Dairy Queen right across where these cars are pulling out. And if a kid walked across the front of that building and didn't stop and look to make sure there was a car not coming out, somebody could get whacked. I just think it's not the right plan for that location. That's my personal opinion.
I agree. I was going to mention the same thing about getting stuck in the line. I mean, with the addition, it may increase production, but I agree with Mr. Sweeney also with just having just the one entrance in there. I think that can be a problem, too. I just think the lot's too small for the drive-through.
Motion to grant.
Second.
All right, we're going to take two votes here. One is, first of all, a finding that if this is allowed, that the board feels as though this will be no more detrimental to the neighborhood than it currently is. So that would be a finding, and I'll entertain a vote on that. So is that the request for your first vote?
So the vote is, if we're voting, if we think it's going to be detrimental to the neighborhood?
If you think this is going to be more detrimental to the neighborhood, you want to vote no. If you feel as though it's not detrimental, you would vote yes. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus?
No.
Chief Nadelli?
No.
Mr. Sweeney?
No.
Ms. Greenberry?
No.
Chair Galligan?
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 0 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative.
All right, now we will take a second vote, which will allow them to establish a drive-through in this location as shown on the plan. Is that what we want, Mr. Building Inspector, the drive-through?
That would be a variance.
It's the variance, yep. All right, somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant the variance. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus?
No.
Chief Nadelli?
No.
Mr. Sweeney?
No.
Ms. Greenberry?
No.
Chair Galligan?
No.
Chair, that's 0 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative.
All right, the vote is 5 in the negative on the finding and 5 in the negative on granting of the variance. The petition is denied.
Perfect finding.
It'll make you earn your money. It'll make you earn your money.
Needs to move.
Can you shut that off? Yeah. No, this one.
Oh, yeah. Didn't know too much. A number or something? Yeah.
All right, we ready? Yeah. The next petition, the final petition of the evening, is 2541, the petition of Eloisa Spinola, 418 Ash Street, Brockton, Mass. For a variance seeking relief from Section 2765 and 2767 to allow for a message board LED sign in a C2 zone located at 581 Main Street. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Eloisa Spinola. I'm here seeking relief from the 10-foot rule for our electronic messaging board and from Section 2765 and 2767. This is an existing sign, and the location, Morabaza Club, has been there for over 30 years, as I understand. My partner and I are purchasing the building, and we have made many improvements, and the sign that we've put up is also an improvement. We've also made the sign more stable. The sign is on our property. It is not any part on the sidewalk, as many other signs on Main Street are. I've provided detailed pictures and a plot plan and pictures of before and after of the old sign, of the new proposed sign.
We're going to do a variance on this one? It's an existing sign, right?
Yeah, she's moved it and enlarged it.
So that's the variance? So we don't need to do a special permit then? Yes, we do. For the variance would cover the LED?
No, special permit would be it's LED.
So we're doing a variance and a special permit? Yeah, okay, that's what I got. Yep. All right, so you are asking for a variance because of the location of the sign. You don't have the 10-foot setback. Can you explain to the board what your hardship is as to why that sign has to be located where it is?
It's the only place on the property that it can be located because we have parking. If we move it back, we would lose parking. It's in the existing place, and we've supported it with a beam, another beam. It's a pylon, steel pylon, and we've added another steel pylon.
I think once you relocated that sign or did as much as you did to it, it requires another hearing on a variance, and that's obviously why you're here tonight. So it's the setback of 10 feet, and you're telling us it's due to the location of the parking in the lot.
Correct, sir.
And basically, this sign is going to sit in the same spot as the other one?
Yes, sir. I sent a whole packet with 22 pages detailing, with an intro page detailing which each page is.
We want to hear it from you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we've established that the hardship here is the location of the sign in relation to parking.
Yes, sir.
You don't have any other place to put it. Now you're looking for a Actually, you are going to need another variance. Under 2765-11, you've got the 10-foot setback, which we have addressed, but the other one in there is the sign within 100 feet of a residential area.
It's a C2 zone. It's a commercial zone. There are residences in the back and to the side, in the back to the side.
So it's the residential zone as it relates to the commercial zone. So is the sign 100 feet from the houses that are on Williams Place?
I believe so. More than 100 feet, I believe.
Okay, I don't have that information, but from my past experience, I would say it's probably close to 100. So if you request relief from the 100-foot residential, obviously that will eliminate any question as to the distance of the sign from the residential area.
Then I am requesting that, sir.
Okay, and the previous sign had the same situation, so this gives you an opportunity to kind of clean that up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, the second issue that we need to vote on is the special permit for the LED sign.
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the sign regulation for the city of Brockton as to when the sign can be lighted? How often the script on the sign can change?
I am not, sir.
Okay, so I would advise you that if we grant this, there are restrictions on that sign. First of all, the sign cannot be lighted after 11 p.m. unless the location is open for business.
We are open from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. It is 3 businesses. It is a lounge in the basement, which we have improved, a restaurant, fine dining, open from 4 to 11 on the first level, and a nightclub on the second level that will be open from probably 9 or 10 to 2, except Sundays, whatever is allowed. I believe it's 1 or 1:30.
That's all determined by the License Commission. What I'm saying on the sign, just be aware that that sign cannot be lighted if you are not open.
Yes, sir.
So that sign cannot be lighted all night long. So
Okay. No problem with that at all.
So the sign cannot be animated, it can't be scrolling, it can give a message, and that message can't change any sooner than 10 seconds.
Okay.
So it can't be constantly flipping because it will be a distraction of cars driving on Main Street. So you'll find all that in the regulations, okay?
So it can be set up to do whatever we want it to do.
Oh, sure. Now, that would be regulated through the building department, but
Yes, sir.
it's in zoning, so make sure you're aware of that. The other thing that I will tell you tonight as a stipulation is that there is industry standards on these LED signs where the intensity of the diodes is stronger during the day and not as strong during the night.
Yes,
We
sir.
don't have that in our zoning yet, but I would caution you that we will reference that industry standard so that the intensity of that light at night, after it gets dark, cannot be as strong as it is during the day.
Yes, sir.
It will become a huge distraction if it is.
Yes, sir.
So do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And whoever is putting the sign up for you should fully understand all that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're looking at allowing the sign, we're allowing it to be within 100 feet, and we're doing a special permit to allow an LED-type sign.
Ma'am, do you currently own the building? It says you're negotiating in the...
We're negotiating the purchase and sale. The stipulation of the purchase and sale is until we get an occupancy, we cannot close.
Okay,
That's from the seller.
gotcha. Okay.
When was the place last used?
I believe 2018 or 19.
2018 or 19? Okay. And I'm assuming that's when the sign, or whatever they did with it, came to an end, and it's just been in that condition?
Well, the sign looked like the picture of the old sign until we took it down. Yeah.
Okay.
And the club looked like the picture, this picture here, until we did this.
The exterior looks very nice.
Thank you. We've also put fencing all around and in the back. There's a lot of problems in the back with the neighbors.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no question you've improved the property from what it was to, I just drove by it the other day, and I don't think, because it's set back, I don't always notice it. But just driving by it the other day, it was kind of
Yeah. We'll do two
eye-opening.
votes on this.
Thank you.
How tall is this sign going to be?
Is it on the?
It's in
12
the
to-
same, it's,
12 to the
Yeah.
stock? Okay.
we didn't move the height.
Yeah,
Just,
so that's, I think that works in your favor because pulling in and out, just looking at traffic, it's above most vehicles at that height.
we also have a camera on it.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
And you can see through it.
yeah.
Bottom. So, that's all I got.
Everybody good?
I think that's all I have too, yeah.
Everybody okay with the discussion we had relative to the sign, the lighting, the diodes, and
Yeah, when we get to discussion, I just want to go over how many votes we're taking here. I have 2.
we're going to take 2.
All right, okay, just want to make sure.
We will take a special permit vote and a variance vote.
Got it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Councilor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm Phil Griffin, the Ward 3 Councilor. Obviously, this isn't my ward, but Maria Travaris and David Texera were both in favor of this. They are out of the country and asked me to come in and fill in for them tonight. But I do have some knowledge about this property. It abuts Ward 3, and I've noticed all the additions and the improvements in the building Ms. Manola and her group have done. So I don't see any really adverse effect to any residents because they're really behind this where the sign would be. And the regulations that the chairman recommended about the regulations about the amount of times the sign can change and the intensity of the diodes, she's more than willing to cooperate with that regulation. So I don't see any impediments to any of the quality of life for residents in the area. And I think the improvements she's done to the building thus far have really made the neighborhood go up. And I think she'll be very successful there. I think it's good for the city. It's obviously going to increase our commercial tax base, so I encourage you to approve it. Thank you very much, board members and Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there any other elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion on the issue. I will now open it up for board deliberations.
Well, I work in signs, so I could see, the parking issue if it's backed up. What I like about this is it's high enough, it doesn't necessarily create a blind side coming out to the street. And with the property being so far back, like Chief had mentioned, I think the sign is important to the business, so.
I like in her document, she had pictures of other signs that are not within that 10 feet. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
But I think, obviously she's improving a business that was there many years, started in the mid-'90s, early '90s, and had fallen off for a while. And they're looking, and just the work you've seen them do is pretty impressive. And just from the outside, what I saw, I think to the sign, to the Mr. Sweeney's point, when you pull out, that brick wall has always been there, but you can see through the sign. The sign is not like imposing where you can't see traffic. I know we talk about that all the time, and that's our biggest concern with the 10-foot mark. It really doesn't impede much when you look through, as long as you can see, over the wall.
A motion to grant.
Second.
All right, we're going to take 2 votes. The first one will be the variance to allow it for the 10-foot setback and the 100-foot setback from the residential area. Motion's been made?
Second?
And second.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Lanus?
Yes.
Chief Nardelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's five in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Thank you.
5 in the affirmative. Now we'll do a vote on the special permit to allow an LED sign with the stipulations that, what are you saying?
You need a motion.
Motion to grant.
Wait a
Second.
minute, I got to tell them what we're looking for here first.
Getting late, we're getting punchy.
I think everybody's tired and wants to go home.
The LED sign with the stipulations that we enumerated on that sign.
Motion to grant.
Special permit. So now, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to grant. The clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 to affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Have a great evening.
Thank you, you too.
Well, I have to announce the vote.
I'm too excited.
Right.
For the special permit, there's 5 in the affirmative. That has been granted. And for your variance, there's 5 in the affirmative. That has been granted. So
Thank
the
you.
petition is granted.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
sir.
You can leave now.
That is the last.
Motion to adjourn.
Tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.